Most of the time, fans of one genre are not really going to cross over into a genre that they don't like. Like, if you like gritty first-person shooters, chances are you're probably not going to be interested in like a fantasy JRPG. But as a game studio, how would you entice a group of people who would not normally be interested in your game to make them want to buy your game? You just put a whole nother game inside your game. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth got some attention before its release for its quote, Animal Crossing game mode where you can take a break from the actual story and go in to build up a deserted island by crafting furniture, catching fish, and bringing on guests. Sounds familiar? Well, as a fan of the Animal Crossing series and someone who has never played the Yakuza series, I figured it might be interesting to see if this would be worth it from the point of view of somebody who likes the Animal Crossing games as opposed to the Yakuza games. So I paid $70, played through like 13 hours of the main story, and played the Animal Crossing Yakuza game so that you don't have to. I'll try to be as brief as I can in the setup because, like I mentioned, there's about 13 hours of story before getting to this mode, and I don't want or need to explain it all. Basically, what you need to know is that you're playing as a character named Ichiban, and after saving a turtle and this giant green guy from a group of bullies, you wake up on Dondoko Island, which is the titular main setting for this mode of the game. Waking up, you meet Muku and Gachapin, who I thought would be like the Tom Nook and Animal Crossing of this mode, but they don't really have any counterparts to the Animal Crossing series. They're just kind of mascots for this beautiful and sprawling resort. At least they were back when it was a 4-star resort. As you can expect, the main goal of this mode is to bring a deserted island all the way up to 5 stars. You learn from the resort's owner that Dondoko Island used to be a beautiful resort with guests at every turn, but the island was overrun by waste disposal pirates called the Washbucklers, who came in and illegally dumped trash on the island to the point where no more guests want to stay and the island loses all of its nice facilities. Since Ichiban is a first guest in a while, the owner and mascots decide to throw a party and also take mushrooms. As you can see, this is following Animal Crossing pretty much to a T. I think we all remember the part where we take a hallucinogenic drug with KK Slider. Good times. Due to the generosity of the island, we decide that we should try to help them by getting rid of some of the trash on the island by hitting it with a bat? Not even Ichiban really knows how this works, but this is enough to make everybody super excited and also lets us see Muku's weird human hands. I could have gone without seeing that. But in the excitement, we come face to face with the head of the Washbucklers, the Dread Pirate Hook. They obviously aren't happy at the fact that we disposed of their trash they left on the island and decide that the best course of action is to try to beat me up. Luckily, we've had a bit of practice taking out the trash with the bat, so we hold our own pretty easily. It's worth noting that the combat in this mode is a little bit different from the combat in the main game. In the main game, it's more of a turn-based, but this harkens back to the older Yakuza games, which are like action beat-em-up type games. Though I haven't played any of the games before here, I'm sure it was cool for the fans to see this type of gameplay return for this little mode. After beating up the Washbucklers, we learn that the government will give funding to resorts that are 5 stars, and since this is a video game and we have nothing better to do, we decide that it's our mission to get the island up to 5 stars. Starting off at 0 stars with basically a deserted island, this is of course easier said than done. I don't think I need to explain how this is similar to Animal Crossing New Horizons, but I do have to say I like the fact that this is very clearly tied to the island being a luxury resort as opposed to Animal Crossing where it's more of a place to live for them. I think Animal Crossing gives you more freedom with that concept, but I will get into that a little bit later. To reach 5 stars, our main goals are raising our popularity, satisfaction, and clearing out areas that are covered in trash. Popularity is, as the name suggests, how popular the island is. This is mainly raised by things like catching bugs and fish and making the island more famous by catching more of these. Satisfaction is determined by the items that you decorate with. Each item you place down has a set satisfaction score, which will affect how satisfied your guests are with the resort. At the moment, to get up to 1 star, we need to get 1,000 satisfaction points, 700 popularity points, and clear the entrance in Great Tree, which makes sense because if the entrance wasn't clear, nobody would come in. Seems like that might be the reason why nobody's showing up. I don't know, who am I to tell Tom Nook? Of course, since no guests are showing up, the island has no money to buy any new furnishings, but luckily it is rich in resources like wood, stone, and things from the trash. If you're familiar with Animal Crossing, then of course you know that this is the setup for making DIY furniture, which will be your main source of decorations for the island. Once again, we can use our bat to gather resources, and Tom Nook asks us to meet him at the DIY bench when we're done. He also asked me to find him a girlfriend, but I'm not sure if the bat can help with that. I mean, maybe it could. I don't really want to think about that. I decided to make a squat toilet for my first DIY because the sign of a nice place is how many bathrooms it has. You ever been to a rest stop bathroom? Those places are like the 5-star resorts of places to stop on a road trip to pee. Turns out that trash is littering pretty much all of the island, so I can only put my toilet in a public area, so in an effort to go big, I placed it right next to the road, but facing away from the road for privacy reasons. After getting 10,000 of this island's currency, Doko Bucks, we're thrown into the actual game where now we have the freedom to build up the island however we want. We also get introduced to the Dondonko Dailies and Suggestion Box, which are basically just daily Nook Miles and Nook Mile tasks from Animal Crossing. Every day you're given 5 different tasks, and they can be things like catching 5 fish or speaking to one of the mascots. The Suggestion Box is much longer term items, so it would be things like hitting 500 total trees, and they would net you more Doko Bucks. I feel like it's a good way to keep you engaged and constantly doing things that you may not really be focusing on. I know it's taken pretty much 1-to-1 from Animal Crossing, but it is a good mechanic, and honestly, if they're gonna pull the good mechanics, then I don't have any issue with it. After exploring the island a bit, I came across a message in a bottle, which gave me the DIY for a forklift, and after checking it out, I realized I had a decent bit of resources, so I decided to make a nice little umbrella to add a little bit more privacy to my outdoor toilet. I did not take into account that the fact that planes flying overhead could look down while you're using it, so this should take care of that. Once it begins to get dark, we're gifted a home that we can stay in and work on decorating, and eventually expand, which is really cool because it gives another area to work on decorating other than the outdoor areas. It starts off basically empty and not too big, but there are multiple upgrades that you can change both with the exterior as well as the size of the interior, which helps with feeling like you're making some type of progress. Now obviously the game has been taking a lot of inspiration from Animal Crossing New Horizons, but it also takes a little bit of inspiration from other games. For example, the decorating feels much more like something like The Sims, where you have more freedom in placing down items in like a free edit mode. Dondoko Island also doesn't work on real time like Animal Crossing, so instead it takes more of a Stardew Valley approach where you have a day-night cycle, and if you stay out too late, your hearts don't replenish as much as if you go to bed early. The hearts are used mainly to fight off the washbucklers, and there's not an energy system to work with, which I think is nice. You don't have to worry about too much hassle when you're playing in this mode. It really is just a relaxing experience. I guess other than the beating people up with bats, but we'll get to that. On day 2, we're introduced to Kenzo, who acts like Tom Nook in the sense that he takes care of construction on the island, like building bridges in other areas or helping with upgrades to our home or tools, as well as cleaning up areas that are filled with trash, which in turn gives more room for decorating once it's clear. At this point, the main gameplay loop is clearing out areas of trash and laying down DIYs to decorate. You do get a pretty decent spread of items that you can make with DIYs, and they're broken up into 4 different themes, which are pop, rustic, elegant, and sleazy. Most of these are pretty normal, but you do have things like a Yakuza finger cutting set, as well as a chair that I cannot show, which I find fun because keep in mind, this is a Yakuza game at the end of the day, so not everything is going to be cute and cozy. You ideally want to get Doko Bucks to be able to clear areas, as well as raise your building talent by making DIY, since there is a requirement for that when you're clearing out an area. The building talent restriction seems like it can be frustrating, but honestly, you focus on DIY so much that the requirement is never too big of a deal. I have to say, I'm also a big fan of the realistic graphics of this game. Of course, the cartoony style of Animal Crossing is great as well, but just swimming in this water of this realistic resort looks great to me, and it's definitely rewarding once you start adding nicer buildings and have better lighting effects and things like that. It definitely can sometimes feel like an Animal Crossing running an Unreal Engine type thing, but I think it works. On the start of day 3, Muku brings out a Tanuki statue that he wants to place to boost satisfaction on the island. I'm sure that the statue of a Tanuki is not a reference to any other Tanuki from any other game. Tanuki Mario from Mario 3. This satisfaction is short-lived though, because right after that the pirates come to the island and officially declare war and also smash the Tanuki statue once again, which I'm sure is not a reference to anything. This game is made by Sega, by the way. From this point on, pirates will now lurk on the island, which is another thing to have to worry about, but it's also another way to make money since every time we defeat one, we get some Doko Bucks. In an attempt to continue raising my satisfaction score, I went ahead and made a public bathroom building because, to be honest, I'm pretty sure my public toilet was illegal. Lucky for me, this pushed me over level 5 building talent, which means I get the chance to clear out the entrance of trash. Not only does this make it so I don't need to clear out any more trash in that area, but I'm also one step closer to getting a 1-star 1-star resort. The extra decoration room is pretty great, but I also need to focus on catching bugs and fish because popularity is also important. The way this system works is that more of the bugs or fish you catch, the more it sells for and the higher it makes your popularity. For example, if you catch 3 of a type of fish, then it gives you 80 popularity points, and catching 10 gives you 100 points, and so on. I definitely thought that this was going to be annoying, and it really wasn't. I did fish mainly to get money, so the popularity kind of came from it and never felt like I was doing it because I had to do it. Catching bugs is easy enough, and fishing is much different from other games like this, and to be honest, I'm not really a big fan of this style of fishing. Instead of a fishing pole, you get a harpoon, and you have to actually aim at the fish you want to catch. It's definitely more engaging than just press a button and press it again, but I don't know, I just didn't like this as much. Either way, I made it up to a 1-star resort, which got me some new items I could buy from the owner, as well as some extra money given to me by the Tourism Association. 1 star is where I feel like things start to get interesting, because this is where you can start placing lodgings. Of course, an Animal Crossing inspired game would be nothing without having villagers come stay on the island, so at 1 star you were able to place down tents to allow guests to go camping and enjoy the resort. In place of cute animals moving in, you instead have interesting characters that reflect how well your island is doing. If the only place for them to stay is a tent, then you'll get lots of freeloaders and homeless people who don't quite have as much money to spend on their trip. In turn, these people have easier requests, which are the main part of the guest portion of things. Each guest will have 4 requests that they want to see by the end of their 3-day stay. For example, Kyoko the backpacker wants to sleep somewhere that is F rank, have the satisfaction of the island be at least 1200, have at least 3 rustic items placed, and also wants a Dondoko mollusk. These requests once again make it so that you aren't focusing on one specific thing. Like if you haven't picked up any shells yet, this gives you a reason to go get them or to place down rustic themed furniture that you may not have put down before. These guests can also spend money at certain designated DIYs that you put down. Placing a vending machine down not only can help with satisfaction, but can also be a passive income source, which I think is a great idea, and honestly I would love to see implemented in the next Animal Crossing game. Once again, it helps you decorate with things that you may not have thought about using before and helps with creativity. As someone who isn't very good at decorating and doesn't even really design on Animal Crossing islands, I found myself wanting to place buildings here because I knew it would actually serve a purpose. We're also introduced to Subaru, who is similar to Timmy and Tommy from the Animal Crossing games, mainly in the child labor aspect of things. In terms of gameplay, he's here to help us with making souvenirs to give to guests to increase their satisfaction and get more money from them when they check out. I didn't really use him too much at this point, but he does start to become useful a little bit later once you reach like 3 or 4 stars. Of course, we still have to deal with the pirates that are around the island, and I find this to be a pretty nice distraction from the resource collecting and killing. Nothing like taking a break from placing down signs to go and kill a man with a baseball bat. Man, I love Animal Crossing. You also have the ability to add items to your home, which in turn increases its livability, which will give you more hearts and fights with the pirates. This once again gives you a reason to work in your home and place items. I know that I wasn't really planning on doing anything like that, but if it gives you more hearts and allows you to stay fighting longer, it is worth it in the long run. Reaching 2 stars unlocks a couple things that are great for income and resources. As you have to focus on more and more areas of the island, it can become harder to get things like wood and stone, so now you have the ability to place buildings that automatically produce these items for you. I didn't make as many of these as I probably should have because I was constantly running low, but they definitely were there to use. You can also make a chicken coop, which gets you eggs to sell, and if you feel like that's close to Stardew Valley, then just wait, because 2 stars also unlocks Dondoko Farms. That's right, there's also farming in this game mode. I feel like now would be a good time to mention that this is just a side mode in an already existing game. This is not even the main game. Dondoko Farm is home to a few different areas, but the main ones I used were the agriculture and research area. Here you can put your Sujimon to work to make either crops or research to get money. Oh yeah, I never explained Sujimon. Okay, yeah, so in addition to having an Animal Crossing mode, this game also has a Pokemon mode where you go around and recruit weird people called Sujimon to fight other Sujimon in Pokemon type battles. But in addition to that, you can also put the Sujimon to work, which once again is an incentive to do the other modes of this game if you weren't initially interested. I know I didn't really feel like catching Sujimon, but I do know it would help be efficient, so I did consider it. It's also definitely not required though, because I was able to get to 5 stars just fine with the ones that I already had. had. The Dondoko farm area acts more similar to Animal Crossing in the sense that certain tasks take actual real-world time. For example, growing a bunch of tomatoes and potatoes can take like an hour of real time, so it's something that you start then come back to as you're playing. The crops can mainly be used to sell and make some souvenirs, but honestly, I'm surprised that they did not include cooking in this. I mean, who am I to criticize the lack of content in the side mode of this game when it already has so much, but like, combat is such a huge part, and there is a little bit of food later on that you can eat that is given to you, so there is a way for you to replenish hearts. Just seems like that would be something that they would have done. I'm surprised they didn't. That really is the main part of hitting 2 stars. For the rest of it, you just continue expanding and building DIYs. One thing I would like to point out that I like is as you build more DIYs, you raise your building talent, which in turn unlocks more and better DIYs. I know I keep saying it, but the game is really good about making sure you utilize all of the features that it has. You could just buy the highest satisfaction items, but then you won't unlock anything new, so you have a reason to keep doing DIYs. At this point, I was actually starting to feel pretty good about the areas I decorated, and I fought off more pirates to get my island up to a 3-star resort. 3 stars is probably the least interesting in terms of adding new mechanics. The main thing is the ability to shoot commercials, which automatically raises the popularity by anywhere between 200 to 500 points each time you do it. You don't really have to do anything for this other than just pay for it, but it does get you some better guests if you do it, which is cool, I guess. Really, the only other thing that 3 stars adds is the ability to visit other people's dream addresses. Or I guess it's not a dream address, I guess you get a parrot on the farms who is connected to the internet or something, and he can take you to other people's islands to look around and get inspiration. But of course, they do take things a step further by also having Doko miles when you visit other people's islands. They really aren't even trying to hide it anymore. You know what, that's fine, I don't even care. The Doko miles are received by completing certain tasks while you're on other people's items, like talking to their guests or hitting their rocks. I'm not sure if this does anything for the person whose island you're visiting, but you can spend Doko miles on things like resources. It's not really that great for buying, but at least it gives you a reason to want to visit other people's islands. Since the layout is always the same island to island and the customization is fairly limited, it can be cool and see what other people do with what you're given. With Animal Crossing, you have furniture items and can customize things like colors, as well as place custom paths. With this, you have straight roads to place and non-customizable things to place down, which can be a little bit limiting, but once again, this is a side mode in an existing game, not a standalone game like Animal Crossing. Oh, I also forgot to mention the campfires that you can host. Once you hit like halfway into 3 stars, you have the ability to host a campfire where you just sit around, play guitar, and have everybody sit around the campfire. This has got to be a direct reference to New Horizons, where once you hit 3 stars in that game, you gather around the campfire and listen to guitar. I feel like the developers of this mode not only played Animal Crossing, but are probably fans of it as well, with just how many references there are. By the time you hit 4 stars, you'll have cleared out the entire island and have a ton of areas to build in. I really only had the entrance filled up and had some other things spread throughout, but I could see people spending much more time building and filling up every inch of space. I was really just trying to get to 5 stars, and even then I was about 10 hours into it. At 4 stars, the goals are a lot more relaxed, and really the only thing you need to do is raise your popularity and satisfaction, as well as prepare for one final cleanup of the pirates. You do learn that the head pirate used to own a resort of his own, but a large company came in and bought it out to host celebrities who in turn completely trashed their island. This made the main pirate mad, so he quit the island and instead went into business of disposing trash and decided that nothing mattered because celebrities would just continue trashing places regardless. I really did not expect character development or an environmental message in the side Animal Crossing mode of this game, but you know what? I'm glad they added a little bit of depth. I'm still gonna kill him with a bat though. I mean, yeah, this dude is still evil, he keeps dumping trash, so I need to get rid of him, which I'm able to do and finally get the island up to its well-deserved 5 stars. For 5 stars, you get lots of money for both this portion of the game as well as the main game, and you get a special move within the main game. From this point, you pretty much have the freedom to decorate as much as you want without any restrictions. From here forward, it's exactly like Animal Crossing in the sense that it ends when you're done with it, and trust me, you'll still have plenty of room to decorate by the time that you hit 5 stars. And that's Dondoko Island in Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Honestly, a really great Animal Crossing type game with some really nice tweaks and quality of life features. Did I mention there's bulk crafting in this? So I guess the question is, should you get the game to play this? My honest answer, no. That's probably surprising because I've been doing nothing but praising this, and this is a really great game, but you have to keep in mind that this game is $70 and you have to get through about 13 hours of main story to actually get to this mode. I at least had a little bit of interest in the main story, so that's why I decided to pick it up, but if you don't care at all or you don't like the turn-based RPG style of the main game, you are not going to want to get through this. You also have to keep in mind that this is a sequel to Yakuza 7, so even if you do decide to get it and just play through the story, you're still not really going to understand that much what's going on because it is a direct sequel. But if you're anything like me and you watched a recap of Yakuza 7 on YouTube and then played through, I'd say it's definitely worth it because this is a really in-depth and really fun game. Unfortunately, it just has too much of a barrier of entry for me to recommend to most people. Let me know what you think about it and let me know what features you think Nintendo should steal from this. Honestly, for real, I think that they should take that whole like furniture that actually does stuff things. That is a really great idea. Did my description make you want to buy this more, or did it make you say, okay, I can probably skip this out? Either way, let me know, and also make sure to like the video so this video can hit 5 stars. Remember when YouTube used to have like star ratings? They used to have like star ratings. You could like 1 to 5 stars on a video instead of likes. I remember those days. Anyway, thank you for watching and I will see you in the next one.